Retro.
And welcome, everybody, once again to another episode of the Animanicast.
Office of Dr. Otto von Scratchansniff. Yes, still practicing.
Wow, he's still practicing? Well, he'll figure out how to do it eventually.
And welcome, everybody, again to the Animanicast. This is the podcast that is dedicated to the animated television series Animaniacs, as well as other shows in the Rugerverse, such as Tiny Toon Adventures, Pinky and the Brain, and Freakazoid. And today we're going to be talking about episode 13 of the Animaniacs Reboot. That's right, it's the last episode of season 1 of the reboot. We're going to revisit all the cultural references and gags that we can really find and care about. And of course, in the end, we're going to give this episode a water tower rating. I am Joey, and joining me are my co-hosts. There's my brother Nathan.
Very big man coming through. Not a brag, just the truth.
And across the country in Georgia, it's Kelly.
Hello.
Hey, everybody. Hope everyone's doing good out there. It is, of course, the last episode of the season 1 reboot. Am I saying that correctly? Yes, I am. And we, of course, got news today of season 3 coming out.
This is a couple days ago now that I'm listening to this podcast, though. So.
Yes, but I'm sure it's old news by the time everyone knows this. But just in case you didn't know, season 3 is happening. So let's go ahead and get to a reading of the press release from The Hollywood Reporter. It says Animaniacs scores Animaniacs scores early season 3 renewal at Hulu. Season 2 of the animated favorite from Warner Brothers TV will debut this year. The Animaniacs are not leaving Hulu anytime soon. So take that, people who think it should be on HBO Max. It's not going to go to HBO Max.
Not anytime soon, at least.
Anytime soon. The Disney-backed streamer has handed out an early third season pickup for the revival of the beloved cartoon from Steven Spielberg and Warner Brothers Television. The early pickup, which is for another round of 10 episodes, arrives as season 2 of the comedy from showrunner Wellesley Wild is expected to return this year. It's worth noting that animated series take longer to produce, and early pickups help keep these shows on a regular production cycle so the show can maintain a regular release schedule. The show was revived in January 2018 for an initial 2-season order, and in a deal with producers Warner Brothers that included streaming rights to the show's vast library. Spielberg executive produces the series alongside Warner Brothers Animation president Sam Register, Amblin Television co-presidents Daryl Frank and Justin Falvey. The renewal is part of a series of announcements that come part of Hulu's yada 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 with other stuff. So,
blah, blah, blah.
Yes. Marvel's adult animated comedy MODOK. I had no idea that but I guess that makes sense that Disney owns Hulu technically, so it's or at least majority owned, so they can put Marvel stuff on there that's more adult related.
They have like Legion on there already.
Okay, so it's exciting news. I mean, we were told by some folks in there that they were hearing rumblings of season 3 a few months ago, so it wasn't really a surprise, but still kind of cool. I mean, yeah.
It's confirmed, so it's good to know.
And of course, we'll talk more about that in our next episode, where we kind of summarize our thoughts on season 1 and what we hope to see in the upcoming now 2 seasons. But to be continued on that one. But let's go ahead and get into today's discussion of episode 13, which features the Hindenberg Cola Roadent Trip. Flotus, what do you know about us? I'm probably not doing the correct meter on that one to make it rhyme, but whatever. And if someone were to ask you about this episode in just a few words, what would you tell them, Nathan?
I'd say it's probably like the last episode of season 1, probably. About,
more or less. Yeah. And Kelly, what about you?
There was a Spielberg reference.
There was, A couple. Mm-hmm. I would say at least 2 or 3, perhaps. Yes. So bonus points right there. Well, before we get into our review, I think we've got to talk about a very important thing, and of course that is episode 13 premiered on November 20th of 2020. So Nathan, can you please give us this is the last November 20th trivia theme song.
I have a song for you. It goes like this. It goes like this, because November is the day that this came out on the 20th of 2020.
Wow. Very nice.
I did not just, I knew I was going to have to sing a song. I should not assume we were not going to do a song.
Well, yeah. He got the pattern, folks. I mean, of course, he anticipated this.
I did not forget that.
So, Nathan, after that thoroughly written out song, can you please tell us what happened on November 20th?
So on November 20th in 2020, this was the same day as the release of Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. It's on a Switch. This was just 2 days after Michael B. Jordan was named the sexiest man alive by People magazine. And it was also 2 days after the return of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. This was also the same day Sarah Paulson starred in the movie Run, which no one saw. I didn't even know that was a movie. So there you go. I decided to do things that actually happened
on that year.
The year, yeah.
Wow, that actually happened in the year. Yeah, Nathan, of course, mentioned Zelda because he loves Zelda.
I still haven't got that game, but I do want to get it. I played the demo. It's a lot of fun.
I got to ask you, Nathan, is it worth getting the expansion stuff of the Skyward Sword? Is that the newest game?
Breath of the Wild?
Breath of the Wild. Skyward Sword's coming out, though. Skyward Sword.
Do you like riding on motorcycles? Because, yes. Instead
really
of a horse, you can get a motorcycle and go, you can ride off cliffs. And
wow, okay. Well, maybe. I still need to get the original game to begin with, so I was just I was like, should I buy it for $60 or should I get the whole thing for $80?
I don't know. I had a lot of fun with the expansion stuff, so
well, there we go. But. All right. So there's your Zelda bonus audio right there, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's go ahead and get into our discussion of today's episode. Today's variable verse was
Parents will complain.
And
I don't like it.
Yeah, I guess they had to.
I'm a parent. I'm complaining.
Well, I know. If anything, I think the internet people are complaining, but not parents. This show, I don't know if really gets parental complaints, but I suppose it's more.
I don't know. This one they say a bad word, so.
Oh, maybe it does get parental complaints.
This is the first PG episode, I think.
Maybe, but season, so. There's no censors, so you can't really make fun of the censors anymore, I suppose. But you can't make fun of parents complaining about stuff being too offensive. So
this episode requires parental guidance.
Very good.
Hi, this is Slappy Squirrel, and unfortunately, you're listening to the Animanicast.
We're going to start off with Hindenburg Cola. And Hindenburg Cola was a story written by Eric Banscrum. Totally Banscum. Yeah, Eric Banscum. There you go. Said it maybe right. Eventually, one of those names. The teleplay was by Timothy Nash and Lucas Crandalls, and it was directed by Eric Knudsen. And Nathan, why don't you tell us what happens in Hindenburg Cola?
All right. Well, Ralph is chasing the Warners all over the Warner Brothers lot, but then they escape from him, and then they notice, hey, look, it's Dr. Scratchansniff's office. We haven't seen him all season, so they go and check on him, and wouldn't you know it, he is sick. He ate some sauerkraut that got too sour, I guess. It went bad, and the only thing that would help would be some Hindenburg Cola.
I want a can of Hindenburg Cola.
Say what now, Gas and Sniff?
Hindenburg Cola.
Just one more time for me there, Scratch and Stinky.
Hindenburg Cola.
Where it's only sold in one place in the entire world, which is Mom and Pop's Top Stop Pop Shop or something like that. It's pretty close.
Not a pretty right.
Yeah, I think it's good enough for me.
And so they have to find it, and it's all the way in like Glendale or something. So it's so far away from Burbank. So they gotta you gotta go through the jungle and everything. Oh man! And then even when they get there, Mom, who is the old man that works there, he can't really hear what they're saying. So there's a bunch of issue there going on. And then,
welcome to Mom and Pop's one-stop top pop shop. I'm Mom. May I help you?
Do you have any Hindenburg Cola?
Instant granola? Oh, you must be looking for Mom and Pop's oat crop hippie shop.
finally, when he realizes what they want, he sends them to the back of the counter, the back of the room, and there's the one can left. But right as they're about to get it, Niles Needhart steals it before they can.
It's you!
From the Greek Games! Yeah, Niels Needhart, Mr. Gold Medals.
I thought you were in hell.
Yeah, I was. Then I tried to escape. No one stopped me. Anyway, I will be taking mine cola now.
Listen here, you big protein planet. We came a long way for that soda.
Yeah, we need it for a very good foil of ours, so hand it over.
And if I say 9?
Then we'll write a sternly worded letter to the animators.
So then there's a whole now chase scene. I don't know. I guess neither one of them actually bought it, so they just kind of stole it from the...
Yeah.
You remember Niles Needhart was the gold medalist. He went to hell, as Wacko says. They say that word. I don't know.
H-E double hockey sticks.
And they they have to chase it. The can goes off a cliff when Niles goes off a cliff too. So it gets caught by a bird who takes it over to a roller coaster. So then they have to chase it on a roller coaster, and then the roller coaster gets stopped. So the can goes flying out. Wacko catches it and turns into a parasail. But Niles is also there. He's holding onto his tail, but it rips off because Wacko is part salamander, I guess, and he can grow a new tail. And Niles ends up in HE double hockey sticks again, and but he gets less points this time, which is kind of sad. But that's fine.
I'm deducting 1 point for over-reliance on meta humor. What was that? Meta humor. Say what now? Meta humor.
Anyways, they bring the can back to Dr. Scratchansniff, and it turns out he was faking being sick the entire time because he was trying to play a prank on him. And they're like, well, before you open that can, watch out. We shook it up a little bit, but he opens it right in their face and he drinks it. He's like, so bubbly. And his head starts getting so big. And he's like, I'm the new villain. I'm the new and improved Dr. Scratchansniff.
I am the new and improved Dr. Otto von Scratchansniff, the reboot Scratchansniff. I am going to win sometimes and not just be the butt of your elaborate slapstick game. Oh, the teensy-weensy boobles. They are giving me teensy-weensy embolisms.
Yeah, so his head gets really big and turns into a Hindenburg blimp, and that's pretty much the end of the episode.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and get to a few of the references in here. So let's see. They mentioned Zack Snyder because the episode was doing slow motion. Like Zack Snyder does. What does Zack Snyder do? He uses the Snyder
like
cut.
Action movies.
Yeah. The Animaniacs Snyder cut right here.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm never really into Zack Snyder stuff. I don't care about the Justice League thing at all coming out. So, but it's coming out, folks. Let's see. They did mention health. Dot got a check from Scratchansniff, and she said "Healthcare American Style," which I believe is a reference to Love American Style, which was a show in the 70s. I saw reruns of it growing up. It was never funny, so I didn't really care for it. But I think that's a reference to that. And obviously the Hindenburg blimp, which, that was a blimp that blew up because they used hydrogen, and it set on fire. Yeah,
I remember the first time I heard the word Hindenburg. We were it's 1989. We were in the movie theater watching Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Ah.
And when the scene with the blimp shows up, my mother's like, the Hindenburg. I had no idea what that was. And so then later on I found out. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, so obviously that It didn't blow up in the movie. That's not what it was. But she saw the blimp and immediately thought Hindenburg. And of course, she was talking during the movie too, obviously. And so yeah, that's how I know about that.
I love that. I go back and forth. Well, Raiders is always going to be my number one Indiana Jones film, but very close second is Last Crusade.
Oh, I go back and forth all the time. Usually, whichever one I'm watching is my favorite.
Well, so the Hindenburg was mentioned quite prominently. That's pretty much the references I could think of.
Hello, Nurse.
Hello, Nurse was mentioned two times.
Hello, nurse. Hello, nurse.
Hello, Doctor.
I should have joined Doctors Without Borders with Hello Nurse.
So that was kind of cool to
find out she's still alive. She's still somewhere. So
she's in Doctors Without Borders. She's doing, which we all know that Hello Nurse was, brilliant and of course would be helping out.
Well, she had her PhD.
Yeah, and she's multiple. She's very talented.
Yeah.
At any rate, let's go ahead and get to some of the moments that you thought were funny, or perhaps not funny at all, because there are people that were very anxious about us watching this episode, especially on our Discord, saying, I don't know if you guys are going to like this one. You guys are going to get offended by it. But were there any things, before we get into any of that stuff, were there any things in here that you guys really liked? Kelly, let's start with you.
I liked when they're talking to Dot and they go, "Hello, doctor," because she's the doctor this time, and I guess they're the hello nurses. I mean, I think they even say that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was cool to see Dr. Scratchansniff again. I didn't like in what way,
Yeah.
Like, he was mean.
Yeah.
And he was a downright villain rather than just a foil. But it was cool to see him again.
That's true, but we'll get more into that in a minute. Nathan, what about you?
The mom and pop top hot shop. That time I did not get it, but the guy, he was kind of funny. He was saying different stores that also are complicated names.
Yeah, that was mildly amusing.
Yeah, it was mildly amusing. We had Niles Neidhart, which I don't know. Someone probably likes him a lot, so
I'm
he's
sure
back.
they do. Yeah.
It's sad that we see more of him in the season than we do of Dr. Scratches.
I know, of all the things, like, who could have predicted that? Not me. Mm-hmm. It's let's see, what did I think was funny? By the way, I think there are shops in LA and stuff that just sell soda.
One thing. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I did like his running, his chase scene was kind of fun, like stopping behind the old lady. He's jogging in place, waiting for the old lady.
That was kind of, like, you can't get around an old lady.
Baby on board, puppies on board, baby puppies on board. It's fine.
That made me laugh, actually, because I'm always like, baby puppies.
Yeah.
It's sort of a I don't know, it's redundant, really.
Yeah, he even says he uses a tautology, which just means saying the same thing twice in different words. So.
Well, das ist just ein tautology.
I'm like, what does tautology mean? I learned a new word.
I missed that word because I was like, baby puppies. Oh, and I like when they paused to take the photo on the
on the ride, yeah, and they were like hugging each other for a while, which that was one of the few bits of storyboard art. I know that with the run up to the reboot, we were all like looking for any little bits and pieces of what they look like or anything, and that little thing of them hugging was out. Which, knowing the Olympics episode, I was very confused why they would be hugging, and now we know why they were hugging. Okay, well, anyway, let's go ahead and get to some of the stuff that we didn't quite like as much. Before we get to Scratch and Sniff, I just want to say the one thing I didn't think was funny at all was the repeating of Hindenburg Cola and the over-reliance on meta humor. And it's like that. Okay, so a close-up on their mouth, like, I don't get it.
But they said it three times.
It was gross. Scratch and Sniff's mouth was gross.
He had spinach in his mouth or something. Like,
rule of three, though. They said it 3 times. They should have done it a third time. Then you would have. So 9 times.
Oh, God.
Of saying.
It just, I mean, just because you say something up close and it doesn't make it funny. Like, I was just thinking to myself, this doesn't, just because you're saying it and you're saying it in a silly way doesn't, I didn't think it was funny. I didn't laugh. I just went, I
mean, that would have been funny when I was like 8.
Yeah, maybe.
You know,
Again,
you say anything and it's funny. But...
And I think that's goes without saying, and I think we need to repeat it many, many, many times. There are people that I'm sure, that if something makes you laugh on this show, then fantastic. I'm so glad.
Yeah, that's great.
That's
yes.
good. I'm not demeaning.
We want it to make you laugh. Yeah,
but, exactly. I'm not demeaning anything.
We'd rather everyone else thought it was funny. We're the only people that didn't think it was
exactly.
funny.
That
that's fine with
us.
Well,
I've been accused of having no sense of humor personally, so I take that for what you will.
Sometimes it's okay to be the Sam the Eagle Muppet in the room,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm okay.
All weirdos.
You are all weirdos.
You are all weirdos.
And that's okay, too, because Sam could be just as funny.
Sam's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the funniest ones.
He really is.
Well, anyway.
It is the British way.
The British way.
Okay.
That's funny.
Any excuse for me to talk like Sam the Eagle, I will take it.
Do it.
At any rate, so let's talk about. I mean, let me see. Is there any? Oh, let's talk about another thing I didn't really like. Wacko's tail ripping off. Okay,
gross.
It was also gross.
It ripping off. I didn't have a problem with his tail ripping off. I had
but
zero.
When it
like
grows.
Deadpool when he loses limbs.
Yeah, I didn't like it growing back
or something.
And the pus that comes, and that's the other thing too. It's like, okay, so then it does grow back, and that was total Ren and Stimpy stuff.
Or was it?
It was like something I'd totally see on Ren and Stimpy and not bat an eye. Like, yes, this is what I know. I'm going into the show expecting, but it's not Animaniacs stuff. Like, don't show me any more of that. That was just gross. Okay, let's talk about the elephant or the Scratchy in the room, Dr. Scratchansniff. How his character was portrayed and stuff like that. His character design was slightly different. His nose is a little longer. But for the most part, he looked pretty much the same. I didn't really have an issue that much with his voice sounding a little bit different. But I did have an issue with him being treated as the quote-unquote foil of the Animaniacs.
Yeah,
or the Warners, I should say.
Yeah.
Because he's not. He's not even their quote-unquote special friend. He's like their dad.
Yeah, or like an uncle or something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for him to be changing into, aha, I tricked you, Warners. This time I'm going to win. I will win sometimes on this new reboot, where he's like an evil genius guy. I'm sorry, when did that happen? Like,
I don't know. He's pretty old though, isn't he? Like 90 or 80? Like, how old is he supposed to be?
Well, yeah.
Wasn't he like 60 in 1998?
Hello Nurse was very, very old, and she looked great.
That's true.
She was in Newsreel of Stars and in the other thing. So,
But yeah, like
it's time matters not for these people.
I don't know. He did age though. Like, he started off younger. And he was one of the few characters that is actually aged.
It's true. He did go have brown hair.
He started off with orange hair. Yeah, brown hair. And
to gray, and then he pulled it out because of the Warners.
Yeah.
I wish I would have seen more of the chemistry. I wish I would have seen more of the chemistry between Scratchansniff and the Warners. All this lead up, and then we spent all this time with Niles Neidhart again, and I just didn't find any of that. I wrote unremarkable as kind of I found it a little. I don't want to say I found it boring, the whole chase around with Niles or anything, but it was just like, let's just get back to Dr. Scratchansniff. I've been waiting the entire season for him.
Like, when they first announced this episode, I was like, oh man, I gotta wait for the whole season to finally see Dr. Scratchansniff, and then we see him and he's only at the very beginning and very end of the segment. And I'm just like, that's what I almost hate more than like his character, is just that he's in it so little. Like, even if it's this terrible, and I want at least more of it. Like,
yeah, well, he's just little things that the Warners say, like, should we actually help Dr. Scratchansniff?
Yeah, it's like they're always trying to help him.
They would always not huddle together and let's think about this for a minute. It's like, no, they would absolutely do it. Now, the way that they would do it in the original
he would
show.
not like it. Yeah, he's like,
but
don't help me this way. Like, I don't want help doing karaoke. Okie dokie.
Exactly, but they would never do it. They would act silly, but not to drive him necessarily crazy. They would do it because they're kids and they're acting like themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt like the motivations felt out of place for both the Warners and Dr. Scratchansniff. Like, why are they adversaries all of a sudden? Yes, they did drive him cuckoo, and they put buggies in his underpants, and they ruined his date in the drive-in, and all this kinds of stuff. But throughout all of that, it wasn't because the Warners were like, let's torment this person.
Yeah.
They thought they liked him. They liked hanging out with Dr. Scratchansniff. They
thought he was funny.
They thought he was fun.
I thought he was funny too.
Exactly. He was fun to be around, you know?
He was a pea psychiatrist.
Yeah. So
Which they didn't even get to say that. I was sad.
Ah, man. So I don't know. Yeah, just it just didn't. It felt really off. It really felt off. Like, it really felt to me like just the people didn't understand the characters.
And Yakko did another bad pun. I feel like that's a new character trait of Yakko. He's just going to do
cut
bad
the line
puns
and hit the hay and like.
Well, even when he said, "I guess the sour," you're also being sour now or something like that. I'm just
because
like,
he's a sauerkraut.
Yeah,
was that the thing? Was that why he said it? Because it wasn't that funny when he goes, "You're."
It wasn't funny, and then the Scratchansniff says, "Ha ha! I waited
Very
20
funny.
years to hear this funny," and it's like, yeah, well, maybe Yakko could say something funny.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe Yakko should actually be funny like he was before. I saw a great compilation of Groucho Marx jokes the other day, and I was just laughing, and I was like, "This is what Yakko should be like. This is Yakko." This is the one-liners that are truly funny and biting, but they move on. That's Yakko, not pun stuff, and which is grown-tastic, you know? Like, leave that to me. I got that. Leave the good jokes to Yakko. I thought the whole season, by the way, has been an over-reliance on meta humor.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole season gets 1 point taken off. But I don't know, Kelly. Any thoughts on Dr. Scratchy or anything like that before we?
I mean, I already kind of said my thoughts on it. I mean, it was cool to see him.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our Pinky the Brain segment, and it is called Roadent Trip. And Roadent Trip was a story by Joe Saunders. It was a teleplay by Timothy Nash and Lucas Crandalls, and it was directed by Scott O'Brien. And Kelly, why don't you tell us what happens here in Roadent Trip?
Okay. The brain is working on another plot to take over the world, and Pinky breaks the robot vacuum. And inside the vacuum, he finds a chip, and it's for his new invention, a self-driving car. And he hides it in the lab with special camouflage and can activate and deactivate. It's kind of like, makes it invisible. And
cloaking device?
Yeah, that's what they're called.
No ship that small should have a cloaking device.
I couldn't think of the term because I wasn't talking Star Wars.
Behold!
Brilliant, Brain! What is it?
Oh, my apologies. Disable active camouflage.
Brilliant, Brain! What is it?
I call it the Model B. Fully electric, zero emission, solar charging, voice control, digital copies of every Harry Potter film, except the overly teen angsty Order of the Phoenix.
Danny was still funding himself.
I was actually thinking about like Wonder Woman's invisible jet, so something like that. I guess it could still be a cloaking device. I guess I don't know, or magic, whatever makes her jet invisible.
Exactly.
I have no idea. So a security guard comes in, and he gets the vacuum because the second guard is like, no, it's just the vacuum's making noise. He's like, I know, I heard something. It wasn't that mouse that you heard, So one of the security guards is a little close to the truth.
It's just a vacuum cleaner, and you thought it was a super intelligent evil mouse.
I know what I saw, Carl!
Lost. Maybe I'll take up yoga. Lost.
Yeah, better send the little guy in for servicing.
Disable active camouflage. And now to simply release ourselves. Dearie me. Open the doors, please, Model B.
I'm sorry, Brain. I'm afraid I can't do that.
And it won't respond to any of his verbal commands. It's like 2001. I can't do that, Dave.
How?
How? Yeah. Why? Yeah. Dave's the astronaut, which is why I said can't do that, Dave, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
But the name of the robot or the AI is Hal. So they end up being taken out on the road because it's a self-driving car. And it's like, well, I guess we're going to be in the car till the car stops. So, but at least the air conditioner will come on. Like, it won't respond to any other commands, but it'll turn on the air conditioner and
the heater at least.
I thought you said air conditioner.
Well, he asked for the air conditioner and turned on the heater instead.
Oh, is that what? Oh, okay.
The car was being very,
It had the picture of the little fan. I thought the air was coming out. Anyway, he's like, now you're mocking me.
Yes, because it was orange, which equals hot.
Oh, okay. Well, I saw a fan, so that's not what my car looks like when I turn things on, so I don't know. So anyway, so they're on the road trip, and then there's like a song that plays kind of in the background, like it's like a music video kind of thing. I don't know.
The Model B is programmed to keep its occupants on the road until given the order to release, or until its battery runs flat. We could be driving for a few minutes, or all of eternity.
Road trip! Car at night, speeding through the city. Now it's morning, how about that? Brain tries to escape.
Ooh, what do these buttons do, Brain?
He pushes buttons like a rat. Yes, it's a funny old country song.
Not that one.
Pinky's really enjoying the scenery and everything, and Brain is so tired he eats a tree air freshener. He's tired and hungry, and kind of around this point they get followed by a big truck, and in the song it talks about Duel, and some of y'all may not know this, but Steven Spielberg's first feature-length film was called Duel, and it came out even before Jaws and Sugarland Express, and it's actually a made-for-TV movie, but it was so popular they actually released it in theaters, and really gained him a lot of acclaim. It was just a small, pretty low-budget film, and it's just about a truck chasing a salesman around the desert area, and it's actually based on a story by Richard Matheson, who wrote the story that the film Somewhere in Time was based on, I Am Legend, what else, bunch of stuff he's done, and so it doesn't sound all that scary. It's like, what, a truck chasing a guy? What? No, but it's shot so wonderfully, and it's like Jaws, where the shark becomes a character. In this film, the truck becomes a character. And it doesn't have John Williams music, so don't go in thinking. But it's actually really, it's a simple plot, but it's really well done. And so anyway, so they mentioned that. And so you see the truck, and basically it's a truck from Duel, and it, flies off the road and crashes. And then and Pinky makes a comment, like, it is scarier when you don't see the driver of the truck, because that's what happens in the movie. Yeah. Again, just like Jaws, the less you see this shark, the scarier he is, although that wasn't really intentional, but it works. So, but this time we do, and it's actually E.T. Yeah. So it's like a Spielberg reference in a Spielberg reference. Is that meta?
Ooh.
I don't know.
Which he was wearing a Night Skies cap. Did you see that?
Oh, no, I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
So it's even more meta.
Meta. It's meta.
I heard that the Animaniacs did meta first. So
you know what? I heard that.
That kind of meta, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's
clever. Never seeing the driver of the truck was way scarier than if we had.
Banana hammock, just another word for
Ouch.
Well, explain what Night Skies is real quick.
Okay. So, Night Skies, I get all kind of mixed up. They actually, I think, use that title in the Gremlins. They have the marquee and it says A Boy's Life and Night Skies. Now, A Boy's Life was like the original title for E.T. I'm thinking Night Skies maybe been the working title or original title for Close Encounters. He did an early movie, like as a teenager, called Firelight. So, without double checking my facts here, I think Night Skies must have been the original title or working title for Close Encounters.
I think Scott O'Brien on Twitter. We'll have to follow up with this later, because I know that Scott O'Brien on Twitter was saying that Night Skies was originally going to be the concept for E.T., that it was about aliens driving or tormenting a family, and that it eventually became a nice story. But he showed like a maquette of a evil looking E.T. As well. So
I just Googled it real quick. I mean, the idea was actually after Close Encounters. But they used some material for like Poltergeist and E.T.
So there you go. So it's kind of like
the family, scary kind of thing. So A Boy's Life and Night Sky sort of refers to E.T.
So somehow, within this wheelbox, you got E.T., have Close Encounters, you have Gremlins, and it's like, and Poltergeist, all kind of like, you could see how they kind of spring off from each other, I suppose, in a lot of ways. Anyway, that was kind of a neat thing too. So a meta thing going on.
Yeah. So like I said, I didn't even notice the hat. Sometimes I was just excited to see E.T. So,
and that trucker song they were singing was very reminiscent to. I couldn't even think of the trucker song that it was essentially close to, but it really sounded very 1970s trucker kind of convoy.
It was kind of cute.
Song. Yeah, it was.
Did you know what the song was called?
It's called Banana Hammock. Banana Hammock's a thong.
Yep,
because Pinky mentions a banana hammock at one point.
Okay, so back to the plot.
Yes.
So they're still in the car, and it gets to the point where they're gonna have to talk, and so Pinky keeps trying to come up with questions, and Brain's like, I don't want to do that, and so he finally says, "Well, you're always talking about taking over the world, but why?" And so Brain explains when he was a little baby cutesy mouse, they did, I guess, trying to instill like this Pavlovian response in him, and well, no, that wouldn't really be.
It was learned helplessness, I think, was the thing. Yeah.
Well, that's what they say, but it made me think of like the Pavlov, but that's not
totally.
That's
like
when
reverse
you
classical.
Yeah,
it was like classical conditioning or something. Yeah.
So, they electrocuted him anytime he went for the cheese. So even when the electricity wasn't running, if he went for the cheese, he wouldn't do it because he would remember what it was like when, being electrocuted. So, he's basically literally a lab mouse, because nowadays they don't really see, he's still a lab mouse, but nobody's experimenting on him.
Yeah.
From that day hence, I vowed I would be the one in control of myself, of my surroundings, of the world. But yet again, here I am, totally helpless, perhaps for the last time.
And then Pinky, meanwhile, when he was a lab mouse, they gave him all the cheese he wanted to see if he could tell it apart. And so he had a completely different experience. And he was showing Brain on his tablet, that you really can't tell the difference between, what was it, Brie and Camembert or something, cheeses or something.
So it was a picnic then.
It even says right here on Wikipedia that the difference in flavors is so minimal that many experts can't tell the two apart.
I have always found Brie to be a shade more nutty and... Wikipedia? You've had a tablet this whole time?
Well, it is a road trip, Brain. Duh.
So he's able to use the tablet to stop the car. And then when they finally stop the car, it goes off and finds the vacuum repair shop in the middle of like nowhere and finds the robot vacuum, and they're in love and they get married because they have the little cans hanging from the back of the car. So a love story.
And then they go off down the road, just like, I guess, like the Incredible Hulk or something, hitching for a ride.
Yeah.
Come, Pinky. Do your best to imitate an opposable thumb. We must get back to the lab by tomorrow night.
Why, Brain? What are we going to do tomorrow night?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about some of the references real quick in this. There was quite a few. I mean, we mentioned 2001. The cars driving around were like Tron, how they make those tight turns. Obviously, the E.T. Night Skies, and of course, at the end we have the car and the Roomba thing saying "You complete me" from Jerry Maguire. So that's about it for references that I could find. Although he did mention the Hoover as his heuristic Hoover, I believe is how he pronounced it. And I looked up the word heuristic, and I honestly don't know if that's the proper way to be doing Hoover, because it's trial and error. It means to do heuristic method. But maybe it's because the Hoovers bump into stuff. I don't know exactly. That heuristic Hoover sounded cool when he said it, but when I actually looked it up, it didn't quite make sense to me. I guess that's about it for references. But what did you guys think was funny? Nathan, let's start with you.
I thought it was funny that they took the thing out of the cleaner's head, and then the car ends up marrying. It reminded me of WandaVision, because they both have the soul stone, or the mind stone. She got her powers from the mind stone, and she falls in love with an electronic device with a mind stone in it. It's
Jeez, I never even got that connection before.
Yeah,
okay.
But this is like, so the car and the...
I really, side WandaVision note, I really hope that it's not going to have a happy ending, but I really wish it would, with Vision and stuff, but I don't think it will, but I hope
we
it
can
will.
talk about it on our Patreon side
later
notes.
on.
We're doing it. I like the song. Was fun. There's like hearing the words like there's a bunch of it's just describing everything that's happening in the episode. So it's like, oh, now they're driving by some cows. What rhymes with cows? Cows. And then Pinky ends up singing about it later.
Yeah, exactly. Pinky loved that song.
And Brain eating his pine friend was cute. It's kind
Royal
of
pine.
Perhaps when we get out of here, you and I can join forces, old bean. Yes, after all, you are of noble blood. Royal pine. I had no choice. It was me or her, see?
Kelly, what about you?
I think I kind of mentioned everything as I was going through.
I think the E.T. Dune thing was probably the tops for Kelly, if I could go out on a ledge there and guess.
Yeah, I just like the dual reference. I thought you said Dune, but
oh yeah, I think it probably did.
Say Duel. Yeah, because Duel is not one that you see referenced a whole lot. I won't call it obscure, but it kind of is, I guess, unless you're solid movie buff or particularly Spielberg.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I will mention that the one thing I didn't like on this was the kind of sad story, the origin of Brain, of why he wants to take over the world. I wasn't a big fan of that because, number one, I know that in the spin-off series they talk about young Pinky and young Brain and stuff like that, with Pinky's parents and stuff. And I believe with young Brain and stuff as well, which I'm very curious to get into that in the future with our discussions. But and I did like Pinky's talking about his dad saying he's incapable of feeling, and opening up the robot was like something that even his dad won't do. Like, there was like funny stuff with talking about Pinky's dad. But when it comes to the Brain being electrocuted, honestly, first of all, I thought the Brain was just going to keep going at it no matter what. Because if you know anything about the Brain, he no matter what happens to him, he doesn't give up. He keeps going. So to me, it's like, well, I was totally expecting him to just keep getting shocked, and the scientists going, we don't understand it. but the brain wants something, and therefore that would make more sense.
Once he sets his mind on it, he won't stop until he gets it. Like
Exactly.
that makes more sense for the brain's character than.
Yeah, and that was
But maybe he learned it from that. Like after that,
I guess, but it just to me, it's like I wrote. Does Brain need a sad story for his motivation? I mean, to me, it always just made sense as a kid. He wants to take over the world because he knows he's the smartest one in the room at all times. And he should be. He's megalomaniacal because he's so smart. And he was made that way because of the testing and not because he wanted to get revenge on everybody. And
he's insane, so he thinks he wants to take over the world, so he takes his genius friend Pinky with him. And
but that to me is just like, it doesn't need to have a sad background to it. Just make it simple.
He was a cute little baby mouse.
He was
cute.
But that's again why I didn't want to see that stuff. It's like,
is that why we were supposed to be offended?
No, we were supposed.
I think it was the scratch and sniff was supposed to be the offensive thing, but
yeah, which I found.
I mean, it's not as offensive as
I wasn't offended. So.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and get to our water tower rating. We'll talk about all this stuff. Let's get to our water tower.
No, we need to do a song.
There's the song.
No,
Joey forgot about the song.
Well, let's go and talk about it right now. Well, let's go and talk about the song. It's Flotus, Flotus, What Do You Know About Us? And this was written by Jess Latcher, and it was directed by Adriel Garcia. And this, Dot tries to sing about all the first ladies of the United States within just 2 minutes. She doesn't quite do it. She skips. Well, she does, but then even at the end, they forgot about one of the first ladies, which was kind of a sad note that they had to put that on. Which was who's the first lady that they forgot?
It was Elizabeth Virginia Bess Truman. They forgot. So
okay. So I wish that, and I don't really talk about this too much because honestly, I wish my expectations for this song, again, just like the episode description of Dr. Scratchansniff, were kind of high. I thought, all right, this is cool, Dr. Scratchansniff, and a song about the first ladies. And instead, just like the suffragette song, instead of getting an educational song, I got this kind of out of order song, which wasn't really catchy, and did give me a few facts, but it wasn't like, again, one of the things I admire about the original series when it comes to their educational songs was that they were memorable so that you could help you in an actual test or something like that.
Yeah, like the whole last minute of this, no one's going to memorize that. And it doesn't help you to memorize that anyways. It doesn't tell you because they're just randomly saying names. They're not in any order. It's not
So it felt like they should have just invested more time on this one to actually do it right instead of just it felt like it was hastily put together, which I know that's kind of the joke, is that you're doing that, but it wasn't what I wanted in my expectations for this song. But what did you guys think about it? Did you like it? That's Kelly. What did you think? You're our female representative. What did you think about the First Lady song?
I was excited because there's going to be a song that I could learn because I don't know the First Lady so well. Particularly their first names. A lot of times I don't know who they married.
Yeah, it's easy to go the last names usually.
Their first names come up on, First Lady's first names is like a category on Jeopardy. And
oh, wow.
No. Yeah. So I was excited. And then she starts singing. I'm like, these are not in order. I can't do anything with this because this isn't even in order. I need it in order. So, and she's skipping around all over the place. And then, I didn't think she was going to make it to the end of the song. And then they rush it. And then the end part wasn't educational. And it was kind of a big mess. It was a mess in the plot, because she's got all these mechanical figures or whatever. Kind of looks like they're in the Hall of Presidents at Disney.
That was the joke they were going for,
Yeah, so that was funny. But I didn't get much out of the song education-wise, and it just wasn't funny at that point. And then it turns out that they did miss this person, First Lady, and then I think they made up names too. So, kids, do not memorize the song.
There's better Animaniacs songs you can memorize.
Not going to be helpful to you.
No, totally not.
Don't use it in school.
No,
Don't do
teachers, please don't use this or the suffragette song in school. Please.
It's such a shame.
Really a shame. Incredibly shameful that they.
You know what is a
didn't do
good
that.
suffragette song? The one for Mary Poppins.
Oh yeah, votes for women.
I love that song.
Yes, but this one, yeah. Again, just kind of another disappointing song, which is just, again.
I think we talked about it like on the Animaniacs episode where you were saying like you just want a song that doesn't have that's just educational and doesn't have some like sarcastic thing about it or just teach me stuff, like teach me something.
It's okay. It's okay to embrace what made Animaniacs in the original show.
Yeah,
so
it's
good.
fine to have a really good educational song. Like it's not something to be ashamed of. Like I don't know.
Yeah, they're just embarrassed. They don't want to do it or something.
Yeah,
I don't get
let's make a joke about doing it instead of actually doing it. Like that's not good. Like
then don't do it. Don't do it.
Right?
Just do a funny song and don't even pretend that you're going to do it about suffragettes or first ladies or something like that. Because I didn't learn.
Yeah, at least at least my expectations wouldn't be like up there. Like, oh man,
yeah,
like
I know. I'm with you. And by the way, if you do want to learn about the first ladies, you can go to the Smithsonian National History Museum, and they have a first ladies exhibit where they show a lot of their dresses and stuff, which for the inaugural balls and stuff.
I'll probably start playing this song there, so that's good.
Oh my boy, they want to get people out. The museum's closing. Let's play the song. Well, anyway, that's good. Now let's get to our water tower rating. Well, out of 5 water towers, how many would you give this episode of Animaniacs? Kelly, let's start with you.
That's tough. I was trying to think about it before we started recording, and I didn't come up with a decision. Here's what I'll do. I kind of had it between 3.5 and 4 because I'm excited because of the Spielberg reference, and the Pinky and the Brain was just kind of cute overall.
Right.
But I can't decide, so I'm going to do 3.75.
Okay. Are we allowing this, Nathan? Has this ever happened before on our show?
We've never done it before, but
we're doing it. This is a first.
Well,
we'll allow it.
I'll allow it. Should I go now?
Yes.
Okay. So I was also trying to figure out whether I want to give it 3 or 3.5 because, I'm glad Scratchansniff's back. I'm glad they tried to do it. Like, I want that stuff. I just want it better. Like, I think if my expectations weren't high, like seeing it the second time, I liked it more because I knew what I was going to get already. Yeah. But I'm going to go 3.25.
Oh, we're doing that. Okay.
Well, that way it evens out with...
yeah, there you go.
In that case...
It's like we both gave it 3.5.
Oh, man. Oh, there you go. Good averages. Okay, then I will not do a 0.25-ish ending of mine.
Yeah, you'll throw the number off.
I'll throw them all off. Okay, so in that case, I'm giving mine a 2.5. I still did like this episode more the second time, like Nathan said. The second time I watched it, I did like it more. The first time I watched it, I was just kind of bored with it. I didn't find it as funny, again, as I wanted to. It was fine. I'm giving it a middle of the road, but I have to dock at points for just not seeming to understand the character motivations of the Warners, of Dr. Scratchansniff, and in my opinion, the Brain. Like, it felt like, okay, fine, you're going that direction. It wouldn't be the direction that I thought it should go, but go for it, I guess. I'm in for the ride. Let's see what you guys have to do. But I wasn't like super offended. I was definitely more offended with like things like Chicken Boo and stuff like that. But we'll get more into that in our next episode where we talk about the entire. We're going to summarize up our feelings and thoughts about
our favorite
season
segments too. Our favorite.
We'll talk about our favorite stuff. We'll talk about our not favorite stuff, and we'll talk about what we hope to see the upcoming series, what we'd like it to do in the future. So So that'll be our next episode. So look forward to that. But until then, let's go ahead and get to our contact information. Nathan, where can people reach you online?
Joey, Twitter, Django FT. That's me.
All right. And Kelly, what about you?
I'm also on Twitter, Yoda Princess, YODAPRNCSS, or email me, Kelly, at bigshinyrobot.com.
All right, as for the Animanicast, we're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Animanicast, become a Patreon patron, and you can get some Tom Ruger commentaries. We go over every episode of Animaniacs. You can talk to us on Discord. Get a welcome link to the RetroZap Discord server by going to discord.animanicast.com, and then you can talk to us and all the other RetroZap podcasters and writers, because we're a proud member of the RetroZap Podcast Network, and you should subscribe to that RetroZap feed so you can get every podcast delivered to your device for free. Well, that'll do it for today's episode. So for Nathan and Kelly, this is Joey saying good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animanicast unless otherwise indicated.
Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I think so, Brain. But a banana hammock? Whew, not as comfortable as it sounds.